We are back to the class and we are starting with a new chapter. All of us like to have ice cream, right? When we like to have ice cream, there are two ways. Either we can buy a pack of ice cream to our home and have it at home, or we can go to an ice cream parlor and have it, right? So, what is the difference between these two? Purchasing an ice cream is a good. You are purchasing it, you are coming and having it at home. But there is slight difference when you are having it at an ice cream parlor or at a restaurant. You are having that ambience, you are having that feeling. There are much more things. Rather than purchasing that particular product, you are getting an experience along with that. You are getting an experience along with that, which is connected with the product, but we cannot see it. So, it is about that particular aspect we will be discussing in this chapter, because there are certain activities which are experiential in nature, which are intangible in nature, but still it can be bought and sold for a consideration, at times without a consideration, whatever be. So, we are going to discuss about that kind of activities, because we have already seen in the definition of business, it is concerned with the transaction of exchange of goods and services. It is that part we are going to discuss in this chapter. We are starting with the new chapter, business services. And we will see, before understanding business service, we must understand what a service is. What a service is. Services are always activities which are providing satisfaction of wants. That is the first thing you have to understand. When some activities are performed, it provides a satisfaction, and there must be a transaction, there must be an exchange, and this activity is transferred from buyer to seller. There is a transaction taking place. As I have said, there is a transfer from buyer to seller. In exchange for some consideration, we have to pay for that. We have to pay for that. Some of the examples are transport, banking, etc. So, those activities which are providing satisfaction of wants, which can be transacted, and it is to be transferred from buyer to seller for a consideration, and such kind of activities which we cannot see but experience, those are called as services. Those are called as services. When we are going in detail, we can see that these activities, those activities which are providing satisfaction of wants, there is a transaction taking place between buyer and seller for a consideration which we cannot see, which is intangible. Those activities are called as services. Those activities are called as services. But basically, there are certain features, because I am not stressing on the features, we are going to discuss in detail about this. Now, one of the basic nature, or when we are going on to the features, or when we are going on to the features of services, we can see that services have 5 basic features, and the first feature is something which we have to take into consideration very seriously, because in goods we can see good. Ice cream is purchased, good. But when we are going and having an ice cream at a restaurant or at an ice cream parlor, there is an experience which we are getting. The surroundings, the ambience, all these things are experiential. So we are experiencing it. So one of the basic nature of service is intangibility. So services are intangible in nature. We cannot see services. It is experiential. We can experience it. We cannot see it. We cannot touch it. We can experience it. That is why services are called as intangible. Intangible. We cannot feel or touch. We cannot touch or see it. We can feel it. Transportation. When we are considering transportation, we can see the mode of transport. We cannot see the service of transportation. We can feel it through the modes. It is reaching us from one place to another. That satisfaction, that particular activity which is giving us satisfaction, we can see the mode which is being used. We see the activity. So you see, intangible in nature, it is experiential in nature, and we cannot judge on the quality of the service before we are getting it, before we are utilizing it. That is also to be kept in mind. So one of the feature is it is intangible in nature. Second one, it is inconsistent. Another feature, it is inconsistent. What is the meaning of inconsistent? We can say that services should be performed according or exclusively each time. Each time it has to be done exclusively. What is the meaning of that? That means for each requirement it has to be done in different ways. For example, when we are looking into according to the requirement of customers, even when we are using transport, we have many modes of transport. According to the requirement, we have to use it. When we have to reach faster, we may have to use a car. When we have time enough and more, we can use a bus or a motorbike. So according to the requirement, it will change. Banking transactions, if you are looking, you can see a lot of type of accounts are there. There is savings, there is current, there is fixed. It is according to the requirement. So it is inconsistent in nature. Services are inconsistent in nature. That means every time it has to be performed exclusively. So that is another feature. It is inconsistent in nature. Third one is it is inseparable. It is inseparable. What is the meaning of that? It is inseparable because there is activity of production and consumption which is happening at the same time. If you are considering an ATM, ATM can replace a clerk, or ATM can replace a person who is helping us in bank, a clerk, a bank clerk. But if you have to operate an ATM, if production is happening, that means if ATM is providing money, there must be customer to use it. So whenever there is a transaction, whenever there is an activity taking place, production and consumption happens at the same time. Production and consumption happens at the same time. Whenever services are produced, it has to be consumed immediately. It has to be consumed immediately. That is why we are calling it is inseparable. Production and consumption take place simultaneously or at the same time. Fourth one, it is inventory-less. It is inventory-less. We cannot store services for a longer time. We cannot store services for a longer time. We cannot, we cannot, what to say, store it for future. Say, as in your textbook it is said that a train ticket can be purchased earlier. That's a thing which we can see, but the journey which is given in the date, for the date, particular date, that journey has to happen on that day. We cannot store it for, we cannot say that okay, I will go for next train. Whichever train you are provided ticket, you have to utilize that. So, journey has to be done on that day itself. That is why we are saying that we cannot store services for a future period. We have to utilize that. We have to utilize that. What to say? It is to be used, as we have said, it is to be used then and there. We cannot store, it is inventory, we cannot have it on stock. We have to utilize it immediately. As we have said in the previous feature, consumption and production and consumption take place simultaneously. We cannot store it for future, we cannot stock it. It has to be used. It has to be used. Fifth one, it is said as involvement. That is somewhat connected with inseparable, because whenever service is happening, participation of customer is required. Participation of customer. You cannot have a service detached from a customer. You need to have the customer there. If you want to have services, you need to have the customer there. So, that is another feature. It requires involvement of customer. Intangible, we cannot see or touch it. Inconsistent, it has to be provided each time. Particularly inseparable, production and consumption take place simultaneously. Inventoryless, we cannot store the service for future. Involvement, there must be participation of customer for a service. These are the 5 features of service. Now, there are types of services. There are different types of services. There are personal services. What are personal services? Services which are experienced differently by different customers. When I go to a saloon, I may go for my own style of haircut. I cannot say that this is the way I need, this is the common way. No, every time it has it has their own time. A place where I want to visit may not be the place which you want to visit. So, some recreation activities or some tours or some restaurants, anything, such kind of things which is experienced differently by different person. I am a person who likes to go to places which are calm and quiet, just to walk around, just to sit silently. But some persons may not be of that kind. Some persons may be particularly, they would like to go to Vegaland, where there is lot of fun, lot of things to do, can be different. So, such services which are experienced differently by different persons, we call it by the name personalized services. Another one is social services. Social services are those services which are done voluntarily by persons for achieving some particular social goals, or because of some social reasons, social requirements. They are doing it themselves. Teaching students in a backward area, or making sure cleanliness. Such kind of things are done by persons, services are provided by persons as a part of their social commitment for achieving certain goals, because a person may have experienced that he didn't have enough or she didn't have enough chance to study. So, when he have done studies and when he have reached at a better stage, he is deciding or she is deciding that I will teach students of a backward area. It is for achieving a particular social goal. So, such kind of activities are called, such kind of services are called social services. Now, we come to the third one, business services. That is our chapter's name. What is business services? Services used by business enterprises for the conduct of their activities. Those services which are helping business to perform their activities in a better manner, and to make things happen in a better way. So, such kind of activities which are supporting, which are used by business enterprises in order to do their business activities efficiently, we call it by the name business services. And we are going in detail about this particular service, business services, in detail in this chapter.